I mean, I don't know what to think. You know, a month right after she left, Gypsy texted me a bunch of pregnancy tests and said she was pregnant. Okay, well, who's the father? And it could have been me or Ken at that point. So she didn't know. She was like, I don't know. The previous month, she sent me pictures of pregnancy tests, but this time there's no pictures, no proof. So like, I don't know what to believe. Like, it's one of those, like, I don't believe it. I still don't. You know, it's hard for me to wrap my head around that.
Hi friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Thursday, August 1st, 2024, and I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. The many lies of Gypsy Rose Blanchard continue to unravel. The last episode of her show, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Life After Lockup, aired last week, and on the episode we found out that Gypsy was pregnant. Gypsy asserted that she was pregnant and that Ken was the father and that there was no possibility for Ryan to be the dad. Cut to producers asking Ryan, and Ryan says, last month, Gypsy sent me a photograph of a pregnancy test that was positive, and I asked her who the father was, and she didn't know. Well, now, one of her friends that is in prison, Amelia Bird, and her girlfriend have told me that, Gypsy told them in April that she was pregnant. In fact, Zora, who is Millie's girlfriend, revealed that photographs of the positive pregnancy were sent on the Securus video chat photo, which is for inmates, on Ryan's Securus account from Ryan's account to Millie. So Ryan can see what's happening on the Securus account because it's his account. So she was logging into Ryan's account, even though Ryan and her had left and weren't together, right? She was still using Ryan's account. She contacted Millie, and then she sent a photograph of the positive pregnancy test to Millie, who is Amelia Bird, and told everyone in the middle of April that she was pregnant. So everyone finds out in April that she's pregnant. Her friends in the prison, it all starts circulating in the prison. People start talking about the pregnancy, and Gypsy learns that it's going around the prison, and she says not to worry about it, right? She admits to telling her friend Lucky. So the way it was shared with me is like, it was around April 17th that they found out that she was pregnant, which would have been right after she had her rhinoplasty. And in fairness, if she was very early in her pregnancy, she could have very well tested negative before she had her rhinoplasty. So she sends the photograph April 17th, according to Zora, says she's pregnant, and then is like super excited, never tells anyone that she gets her period, never tells anyone that she has any kind of miscarriage, never says that she had a false positive. And then later in May, when she's with Ken and she again takes another pregnancy test, she changes her story. So she takes a pregnancy test again in May to find out she's still pregnant. Gypsy then tells everyone in May that she's actually pregnant this time with Ken's baby. And how does she explain this? She says, well, I had a false positive. That wasn't really a positive pregnancy test. Makes no mention of having a period, makes no mention of any of it. She just says, well, that was a false positive. I wasn't pregnant in April, but I am pregnant now. Now, the weird thing is that Zora and Millie have the exact same story as Ryan, because the photograph was again sent to Millie through Ryan's account, which is where they were communicating illegally. This is what Gypsy got in trouble for. So it's very possible, and I'm just spitballing here. Ryan may have logged into his account. He could have seen that Gypsy was communicating with people, and he very well could have reported Gypsy to her parole officer for communicating with Millie when he found out that she was pregnant and that she was sharing pregnancy pictures with inmates. That's just my guess. All of this is happening on recorded video and audio recorded accounts that you can log into with inmates. Or else someone else logged into Ryan's account and looked at who Ryan was communicating with. Or they logged into Millie's account to see who Millie was communicating with. Either way, that's where this all took place, and that's how this all ends up getting over to the PO. So now, Gypsy is trying to tell people that she wasn't pregnant in April. She's really pregnant now, and it's absolutely, positively Ken's baby. She had an ultrasound in June, and she's telling her OB that her last period was in April, not in March, like she was before when she was pregnant in April. Now, ultrasounds can measure the size of a fetus and the size of an embryo and the size of a baby as it grows, but there is some wiggle room, and if due dates are not correct, and because they always typically go off your last birth, like if you're telling the doctor this is the last day of my period, whatever. So she's telling everyone that she's due in January. Well, then someone showed up in my comments who's local in Cutoff and said that Christy has been telling friends, allegedly, that Gypsy is due in December. I remember when Gypsy told me she was pregnant, I thought it was really weird how she explained this to me. And she made me think that she was telling me the day after she found out she was pregnant. The reality was she had already known she was pregnant. So what she said to me was I was confronting her about her behavior online, the fact that she was bullying people. I was confronting her about clout chasing by going on the Kardashians, by not doing advocacy work, by being so obviously chasing fame, saying that I didn't support her behavior, I didn't support the lies, I didn't support any of it. And almost to stop the conversation in the track, she's like, well, I'm pregnant. And I said, oh, really? When did you find out? Well, I just found out yesterday. It was in the 20s of May that she tells me this, maybe the 25th. So in the end of May, she tells me, I'm pregnant, and I just found out yesterday. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, oh, really? How far along are you? And she's like, well, like 4 or 5 weeks. And I was like, you got a pregnancy test that quickly? She's like, well, I was late and yesterday and I took a pregnancy test. And I'm like, wow, you were late like 1 day? Now, I don't know how you guys found out that you were pregnant, and everybody has different stories. When I found out I was pregnant, I was like 5.5 weeks, meaning I was like more than a week and a half late on my period. And a lot of the home pregnancy tests will not give you a positive until you're at least 4 or 5 days late, because you have to have so much of the hormone in your urine for it to finally test positive. In order for it to test positive, you have to have a certain level of a specific hormone in your urine for it to come out that you're pregnant. It's more common on a pregnancy test to get a false negative than it is to get a false positive. False positives can happen, but they're more rare than a false negative. It's also common that when you first get pregnant, within the first few weeks, you have spotting, which is called implantation, bleeding. And so it's not uncommon for some women to not realize they're pregnant until 2 missed periods, because they think they had their period the first month, but in reality, what they had was implantation spotting and cramping. So the friends don't buy what she's selling. They don't believe that she's actually going to have this baby in January. They suspect the baby will come in December, and they don't know who the father is. If it is due in December, it could either be Ryan or Ken, because she was still trying to get pregnant with Ryan up until she left him. Like, they were going to have a baby, and then they have a fight, and she starts talking to Ken, and she leaves him. So a theory this friend dropped was that they said, I think Millie and Zora was speculating that because she doesn't know who the father is, it's plausible, knowing how Gypsy lies, that she would tell Ken that it's his baby, it's only his baby, and she would change the conception date to only when she was with him and not when she was with both of them, the overlap in that month of March and April when she would have had sex with both the guys. March with Ryan, April with Ken. And instead, she would tell Ken that it's not possible that it's Ryan so that he wouldn't leave her. Because if he were to find out when they got back together that she was already pregnant with Ryan's baby, he may or may not want to be with Gypsy, and might not be interested in raising some other man's child, right? So in order to keep him with her, they think they're lying to Ken. Now, it very well could be Ken's baby, but she could be lying that it's absolutely his baby because she doesn't know and she doesn't want him to leave. Gypsy has lied about pregnancies so many times. And this is another thing they said. So Zora was telling me that Gypsy literally told her that she was pregnant with Nick's baby when she was in prison, and that she had a miscarriage when she got into jail, and that's why. And that it's getting arrested is the fault for why she lost Nick's baby. She also told Nick that she was pregnant after they met in March of 2015, and that she lost the baby. She lost the baby after her mom changed her feeding tube. And that's why. So Gypsy has lied in the past about actually being pregnant. Now, I know that she is pregnant because Zora actually sent me video of Gypsy at the doctor's office with the confirmation that she's pregnant. And I'm sharing these with Zora's permission. Check it out.
Confirmed. You are a daddy.
Oh my god.
They're going to do an ultrasound next time.
Yeah, the ultrasound will be next time.
It's confirmed for
Confirmed.
Look at this.
Oh my god.
Get away towels if you feel like you're going to pass out.
It's gonna be okay.
No,
Wait,
I'm good. I
it's-
already knew.
To see it is, but to hear it.
Did you think I'm like a screen?
So she was in the doctor's office and she gets the positive pregnancy, and then stepmonster Christy is calling Ken to tell Ken that Gypsy's pregnant. Can you imagine your stepmonster being this involved in your life? You can't even call your boyfriend and tell him you're pregnant yourself. But did you hear Ken at the very end? He's like, do you have anything on a screen? Because he still didn't believe it. He said he knew it, but then he said he wanted proof. Because Gypsy literally lies, right? So they then had to film another video of the person, the nurse, actually saying she was pregnant so that they could show Ken that she was pregnant and that she was having a baby because he wanted to see proof.
That's okay. We're
Okay,
always here.
say it again. Tell her she's what? Say it again.
She's pregnant.
Will I have an ultrasound today, or
So
is that
it won't be
later?
today.
Okay.
So the way ultrasounds work is you have to be at least 7 to 8 weeks before you can actually see something. So right now, you'll see a development of something, but you won't really see much of anything.
Okay.
So we have to wait till you get a little further along, okay? But we'll definitely get that scheduled.
Yeah.
Ultrasound, blood work, that kind of stuff.
So they film it like they don't know that she's pregnant, and then they make her say it, and then she asks if she's going to have an ultrasound, and you can tell that Gypsy's acting because she already knows she's not going to have an ultrasound, and they tell her it's too early. They were trying to show this for the show. They were filming this for the show. They were going to put this on the show, although that's not what Gypsy told Zora. I said, why would she send you these videos? And Zora said, well, because she said that she wanted me to be there with her. She wanted me to experience this with her. And I was like, that's strange. Maybe for Millie, I don't know. But she sent these videos to them so that everyone would believe her that she's pregnant. And she would have proof to give to Ken and that she would have for the show. There's even a second video where they actually try to do an ultrasound on her stomach, but they can't pick up even a heartbeat and they can't pick up the baby because she's too early. Ultrasounds, I think they don't usually do them in the first trimester until after 9 weeks, because before that they are hard to find because the embryo and the fetus is so small. So I don't know how many weeks she was. I don't know where she was at when this was filmed. I don't know when this was filmed. It might have been in May, for all I know. Regardless, Gypsy's sending this to people on the internet, and that's what I have for you. And obviously, as you heard, Ken wanted proof. So I don't know where she's at with her pregnancy. Here's the thing. If she was, give or take, off by 4 weeks and claiming that she was literally only 4 or 5 weeks pregnant at this point, theoretically, if she really was pregnant in April and they couldn't pick up anything on the ultrasound because they couldn't pick up a heartbeat, they couldn't pick up the baby's image on the ultrasound, she could have been 8 or 9 weeks and they still couldn't pick it up. The early ultrasounds, when you're very newly pregnant, are very hard to find if you just go on top of the belly. And a lot of doctors, in order to do an ultrasound early, would have to do it up your lady parts. That's how I saw my child for the very first time at 9 weeks. They didn't try to do that with Gypsy on the camera. So she could be anywhere from 4 to 9 weeks in this video. Who knows? So she is pregnant. At least that's what the doctor says here. But her friends still, despite this, do not know that she's pregnant with Ken's baby. They're still not sure that it's Ken's baby. And they also told me that with Ryan has been saying online that he's not sure that it's his baby. He doesn't think that it's his baby. He's been very cautious about what he says about the pregnancy or what he says about the baby, because I think he just doesn't know what to think or feel. And because they're going through a divorce, he may not want to say anything about the paternity of the baby until there's actually DNA and a paternity test that shows who the father is. Because if they were to get divorced and he's the father and he was to claim the father and the divorce was finalized before they could do a paternity test, he's presumptively the dad. And if it's not your child and you're considering child support here, you don't want to presumptively assume that it's your child. So you're going to be as cautious as possible. That's how the friends were explaining to me, that he might not want to say anything. And he also might not want to disparage anything because he could be the father. And so until he knows definitively, he's not going to say. And he said he has to do a paternity test because it's the law. So Gypsy is lying about that. Another interesting thing that she lied about is therapy. So she was recently on the Kardashians and she told Kim Kardashian that she didn't get therapy while she was in prison because she didn't qualify for it. However, one of her friends from prison, Rachel, disputed that and debunked it on TikTok yesterday.
Somebody sent me a clip of Gypsy talking to Kim Kardashian. And this is for you, Kim. Gypsy lied straight to your face. Straight to your face. Because all you got to do is fly a kite and you can go to mental health. I did it. And just for being afraid of mustard. Put me on a lie detector test. I want somebody to put me on a lie detector test. Seriously. Because she told me she did not need help. That she's fine. That's not true. At all. You can get help in prison. And especially the prison that we went to. Because I'm doing good. I took prison for what it was. And I did good. It teaches you stability. She even got in trouble for tricking men while she was there.
So Rachel says that when she was in Chillicothe Women's Correction Facility, she was able to get therapy for being afraid of mustard, whatever that means, and that anyone can go to mental health. What I did is I went online and I went on to Chillicothe's correctional facility mental health and what you can do there. And it basically says that there's multiple ways that an inmate can get help in the system. So they do an initial intake when somebody actually comes in. And based on that intake and how that questionnaire and all of the information is provided to them. So Gypsy has to be honest, right, on her intake, and then they will tell her whether or not she qualifies. However, after intake, the website says that if an inmate is struggling and needs help with mental health, that mental health is available for everyone. And that all they have to do is contact the mental health department and they can make an appointment. And Rachel actually did a second TikTok, which basically confirmed that, where she said, all you have to do is contact mental health, let them know that you want to see a therapist and schedule an appointment. And I know that some people say that like, that's not optional or that doesn't happen or what's offered in the system is awful. I can only go off what they're saying. Rachel says she got therapy there. I know that Christy actually told me in 2021 that Gypsy was getting therapy, and I actually just found these text messages because back in 2021, a story was published on In Touch, and two people that knew Gypsy, Fancy Maselli, and then Titania, who was a friend of Dee Dee's, who had been in contact with Gypsy as well, told In Touch in 2021 that Gypsy was denying that she needed therapy and she wasn't taking the steps to work with the therapists in the prison because she said she didn't need help. And the article goes up on In Touch, and Christy actually sends me what the article says, and it says, Gypsy Rose Blanchard doesn't want counseling or any help in prison. And I said, they didn't redo the article. Does she want counseling? And Christy said, I'm reading it now. Yes, she does want counseling. We are putting that in motion right now. And I said, what do you mean in motion? And she says, getting her a therapist to go see her in prison. But we never said it in the public. Fancy and her minions do not know all that we're doing. I talked to Melissa and they will get it shut down. Melissa Moore, who's from the series. So what they were doing was trying to get a therapist that was willing to be videoing Gypsy doing therapy. So you know how you saw on Prison Confessions how she was speaking to that psychologist right before she left? That's what they were talking about. Gypsy basically did the bare minimum for therapy, and she only did that basically to satisfy the parole board. But I said to Christy, but doesn't the prison offer counseling? And she says, not enough. And she has and is doing counseling there. So Christy told me in 2021 that Gypsy was doing counseling in prison, but it wasn't enough for Gypsy. And she says, but we just are letting them hang themselves because they will look stupid when it all comes out. So Gypsy, she says, was doing counseling in 2021. Gypsy said she didn't get counseling and she didn't qualify for counseling. There is counseling available, and Gypsy told Fancy, Titania, Rachel, and even Zora and Millie that she didn't want and didn't believe she needed help. Now, what is she doing now? Because Gypsy didn't take part in mental health therapy while she was in prison and didn't complete that part of her being reformed, like part of it is dealing with the trauma and your mental illness that brought you to this place. She is mandated to complete an outpatient mental health program. When she was in prison, it wasn't a part of her sentence that she had to do mental health therapy. They didn't make it a requirement of her sentence. So when they paroled her, they made it a requirement of her parole, and that they would parole her if she would do therapy. So what is Gypsy doing? The bare minimum. She's doing telehealth therapy. She's not even going to a facility, and she's doing it maybe once a week, not intensive outpatient programs the way that her parole and probation has ordered. They want her in an outpatient program. She's doing telehealth, meaning she's not even seeing the therapist face to face. And given how well Gypsy can manipulate people, I have no doubt she's manipulating a telehealth therapist. So Gypsy is lying about not getting access to therapy. She's lying about not qualifying. She's currently lying about what she's doing in therapy, and she's lying about her pregnancy. What are your thoughts? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. If you have information that you would like to share, let me know. And make sure to click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye, everyone.